Hello all, welcome to ICSE Books. In this video, we are going to continue the chapter Impact of the British Rule on India. So this is the part 2 video. Okay, so this is the last part video for class 8 ICSE. So we have already discussed settlements. Okay, let me start with the drain of wealth. So the drain of wealth theory was developed by the nationalist thinkers and economists, according to which it was transfer of the wealth from India to England, out of which India was not getting the approximate material or economic return. So drain of wealth in the sense transfer of valuable resources from India to Britain, out of which British were not giving India a resourceful thing. Dadabhai Naoroji, a Greek nationalist, wrote a Poverty and Un-British Rule in India and published it in 1871. The wealth was transferred from India to England in the form of a remittance, purchase of the British goods for consuming in India, profit from the trade and revenue. From this method, goods were transforming from India to Britain. The British consequently spread a large part of the taxes and income they derived from Indian peoples not in India but in Britain, their own country. So the British people who are living in India they took a lot of the goods from India and spent it in the England. Okay, so the drain of wealth began from Bengal. How it began? When the company's servant began to carry immense of the fortunes exported from Indian rulers, zamindar merchants and common peoples, in which company's servant only started that. They sent home nearly this much of the goods, this much of the exported things to England from India from 1758 to 1765. The amount was more than the 4 times of the total land revenue collection of the Nawab of Bengal. So this for 4x time. If this is a land of Nawab, so how much income it will consume, that 4x times they have taken away. Profit of the company, which were often no less illegally derived. So not only that, they also took from corrupt man. In 1765, the company acquired Diwan of Bengal and thus granted control over the revenues. The company, even more than its servant, soon directly organized the trade. First, as I told you, servant organized. Soon the company organized this drain. These purchases were known as the companies, even more than its servants, soon directly organized the drain. It began to purchase Indian goods out of the revenue of Bengal and exported them. So it purchased the Indian goods out of its revenue of Bengal and exported them. Out of the revenue of the Bengal, it took away and exported them. So this is known as the investment. Though the investment of the Bengal was sent to the England, as I told you, Indian goods were taken out of the Bengal revenue and exported somewhere, so it was taken to the England only. For example, from 1765 to 1770, the company sent nearly this much million worth of the goods, or about 33% of the net revenue of Bengal. Okay, they took about 33% of the net revenue of the Bengal. By the end of 18th century, the drain consequented about the 9% of India's national income. The actual drain was even more than that, because they took from the corrupt manner also. The drain took in the form of excess of India's export over import. So there were excess of export from India to England, but there were less import from other countries. So in there, England to India. While the exact amount of the annual drain has not been calculated, actual is not been calculated so far, and historians differ on its quantum. Okay, so the British officials also expected this. So the drain of wealth. So the drain went on increasing after 1858 through the British administrators and imperialists. Imperialists are those persons who practices rather imperialism. Writers began to deny the existence. So the drain increases after this year, as I told you in 1857 chapters. So before that, I want to tell you that we have already uploaded 2 chapters from this book. So the first chapter is the Great Uprising of 1857. So the second chapter is Reform Movements. So we will start. We have already we are doing the chapter Impact of British Rule on India, in which we are going to complete today. Okay, so watch after this completion. You can watch these 2 videos also. So in 1857, what happened? The Great Uprising happened, which you should see in the next video. So in this Great Uprising, after that, through the British administrators and imperialists, writers began to deny its existence. By the end of 19th, it consequent nearly 6% of the India's national income and 1/3 of its national saving. The wealth drained out of India played an important part in functioning of the British capitalist development. It made a capitalist in the sense money in this case. Money. So many of them confuse by understanding capital. It drain of wealth improved the British capitalist development, especially during 18th century and the beginning of 19th century. In the sense 1859 or 1860 or 1877 or 1890. So by the end of the 18th century and beginning of the 19th century, that is the duration of the period of the British early industrialization. Yes, we have done in the part chapter 1, but I haven't uploaded that. It has been estimated that it consequent nearly 2% of the British national income during that period. John Sullivan, president of a board of revenue, very important, this person. Madras remarked, our system acts as a sponge. It draws up the goods from the bank of Ganga and squeezes them on Thames. So here you need to understand the derived meaning. So where is the Ganga situated? In India. Where is the Thames situated? In the Britain. So is meaning of the words are, our system is like a sponge. It will take all the money from India and squeeze it to the Britain. Okay, that is what this board of revenue person told. Development of transport and communication. The British government paid attention to improve the means of transport and communication. They built a network of the railways in India. Telecables were laid and roads were built. At all these were done to promote British commercial needs. It was done to speed up the transportation of raw materials to the ports and port towns and to bring the finished or manufactured goods from ports quickly to markets all over. The telegram flights helped in sending the message and easily and quickly. So the British introduced telegram on the railway. The reason being for them development only, because to communicate and to transport and all. Okay, so the new roads, railway, telegraph were also mean of good speed movement of military equipments and goods, and quicker. All areas which were imported from the military point of view are also linked in these trains. By 1905, a network of this much 28,000 miles of railway line has been laid at that time only. Through the rails, they built to benefit the British. They built a rail in the India, but the beneficiation was to them only, to British, not for Indians. Travels and transportation become quicker for them, safer and cheaper. In times of famine, food grains could be supplemented to affected areas quickly. Railways also helped in growth of industries, as the raw material could be supplied to the factories. Introduction of the railway helped in Indians of different castes and religions to travel together. So we can't say the railway hasn't benefited for us. In one way it has benefited for us, in other way it benefited for British peoples also. Okay, so railways, detail learn of railways. So the first railway was opened between the Bombay and Thane in 1853. Lord Dalhousie credited with the establishment of railways. Who is credited? Lord Dalhousie. We know which policy did he introduced. Yes, very good. He introduced doctrine of lapse. In 1854, Kolkata was linked to coastal fields of West Bengal. In 1856, a railway joined Madras to Arakonam. All major raw material produced areas were gradually linked with the major ports to make transportation of raw material easier and quicker. Okay, I explained this while teaching this only. Okay, because in one way I merge it together in order to make you understand easily. So I am explaining only which is there in your syllabus. Okay, so the Woods dispatch is also there, but it is reduced from the syllabus. As a result, I am not teaching in this video. If you want, you can put it in the comment section. So cultural and social impacts. The impact of the Western education led to the intellectual awakening in India. Indians' education led to the Indians getting sustainable jobs in the British government. The British wanted the Indians to change the preference so that they could become better consumer of British goods. The British introduced only those social reforms which did not hurt the commercial interest on profits. So the British also introduced some of the reforms, social reforms, and those social reforms were benefited to the British, and they also introduced in such a way that they are not getting any hurt to the commercial interest or profit. Sati was practicing of widow immortation, means widow killing. At the widow after the death of her husband. So after the death of her husband, the wife should burn herself in a fire. So widow immolation, that is sati, it was banned. Okay, so it was credited to the Lord William Bentinck, was credited for this. He was assisted by Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Who is this Raja Ram Mohan Roy? We will learn soon, because in reform movements chapter we have already uploaded this. Okay, in the reform movement chapter we learn detailedly Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Swami Dayananda Saraswati, and all. That is very interesting chapter. After you view this chapter, go through the 1857 revolt. Afterwards, reform movements chapter. Okay, who campaigned against the inhuman customs of this sati. So Lord William Bentinck banned due to the Raja Ram Mohan Roy, who campaigned against the inhuman custom of sati. The custom of prevalizing in some parts of the countries to kill daughters as soon as they born. This is known as a female infanticides. This is also a evil practice, because as soon as the girl child born, they will kill that. And the evil practice which prevailed in some part of the countries was sacrifice a little children to please gods and goddesses. Efforts were made to suppress these evils. So another practice is there, that is to sacrifice, kill the children for god and goddesses. What a bad thing, right? A strong movement in the support of the widow remarriage was started by Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar in the chapter called as Reform Movement. You will learn that Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar done lot to the women. Okay. For women, he started schools also. Okay, one school is started, that was the first school, widow remarriage. Okay, in 1856, during the governor generalship of Lord Dalhousie, the government passed a law which allowed the widow to remarry. So widow to remarry, widow remarriage, yes, the government told to yes. So by the help of the Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Lord Dalhousie did. Similarly, child marriage was stopped in 1891 and slavery was abolished. So by this, we have already completed 3 chapters from the history and civics. Okay, history of class 8 ICSE. So we have also uploaded physics and chemistry too, and you can go through it. And thank you very much for viewing this video. Thank you.